I was looking at my calendar this morning, just sort of staring at the sheer volume of administrative debris,
Oh, yeah.
the scheduling, the follow-ups, the data entry, and it really hit me. We've spent the last few years treating AI like a really smart encyclopedia.
Right.
You ask a question, it gives an answer, and then you still have to go do the actual work.
Exactly. It was the smart librarian phase, I like to call it. Helpful, sure, but passive. You still had to actually read the book.
Right. But looking at this new report from Just AI News, which focuses on the state of play right now,
Yeah.
here in 2026, that phase is just dead.
It really is.
We aren't chatting anymore. We are managing. And the shift from chatbot to digital worker,
Yeah.
it isn't just marketing fluff. It's a fundamental change in how the software is actually architected.
It is. And to be really clear up front, when we say digital worker, we aren't using a metaphor. We are talking about autonomy. That is the key word for this entire deep dive today. Autonomy.
So let's set the stage for you listening at home. The report is titled, Best AI Agents 2026. The market cap for this stuff already hit over $7 billion back in 2025. But the stat that jumped out at me and frankly scared me just a little bit is the projection for right now in 2026.
Yeah, the 40% stat.
Exactly. Analysts are saying up to 40% of all enterprise applications will have agentic features. That's nearly half the software we use at work suddenly deciding to do things on its own.
Which is why we really need to understand what doing things on its own actually means. Because there is a huge misconception out there that an agent is just, a better version of the chatbots we used 2 years ago.
Right.
It's not. It's a different species entirely.
So let's break that anatomy down. The report calls it action logic, which I love that term. It sounds like a bad 80s action movie.
It does, doesn't it? But it's actually quite technical. Think about a standard large language model, the kind we all used in 2024. It predicts the next word. That's it.
Just a text generator.
Exactly. An agent, however, has 3 distinct components that a standard model lacks entirely. First, it has memory. And I don't just mean it remembers your name from a prompt. It retains context over time across entirely different sessions.
So it remembers that I prefer my quarterly reports in PDF format, even if I haven't mentioned it to the AI in 3 weeks.
Correct. It essentially builds a user profile in its mind, so to speak. Second, and this is the really big one, it has tools.
Meaning it can touch things.
Yes. It can touch your digital world. It has access to your calendar API, your email client, your file system. It's not just generating text about an email. It is opening the client, typing the address, attaching the file, and hitting send.
It's actually doing the task. And the third component.
Planning. Or, autonomy. If you give a standard chatbot a complex goal, it usually just falls apart
Or asks you 10 annoying follow-up questions.
Right. But if you tell an agent, plan a travel itinerary for my conference and book the flights, it breaks that down into steps automatically. Check calendar, check flight prices, compare the options, execute the booking, add it to the calendar.
Wow.
It creates a workflow and executes it step by step without you holding its hand.
That's that worker mindset. It's a difference between asking for directions and just asking someone to drive the car for you.
That is the perfect analogy. And looking at the landscape for 2026, the report divides these drivers into 2 camps, the generalists and the specialists.
The titans versus the technicians.
In a way, yeah.
Let's start with the titans then, the generalists. We've got Google, OpenAI, and Microsoft fighting this massive war for our desktops. The report ranks Google Gemini as the #1 agent, but there's a massive asterisk next to that ranking.
Oh, absolutely. The walled garden asterisk.
Right. They call Gemini the insider.
It's a very strategic choice by Google. They realize that they don't really need to conquer the whole web if they already own your Office suite. Gemini works inside the code of Google Workspace. It's not looking at your screen like a human would. It's living natively in the data layer of Docs, Sheets, and Gmail.
Which makes it incredibly fast for specific tasks. I saw the use case in the report about invoices, like scanning Gmail for vendor invoices, extracting the dollar amounts, and populating a Google Sheet automatically.
Yeah.
That used to be a job, like a human being's entire job.
It was, and the report says Workspace users are saving an average of 105 minutes a week on exactly those kinds of routine tasks.
Almost 2 hours?
Nearly 2 hours of productivity bought back just by automating data entry.
That's 2 hours I could spend doing literally anything else. But the limitation is pretty obvious. If I need to go outside of Google, like if I need to browse a competitor's website or book a flight on Expedia Gemini, feels a bit stuck inside that Google ecosystem.
Which brings us perfectly to the #2 player, OpenAI. The report refers to the ChatGPT agent as the visual worker. And this is where things get really sci-fi.
This is the feature that was formerly called Operator, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
They rebranded it and integrated it fully into the main interface. The ChatGPT agent doesn't just read code. It sees the web.
Sees it.
Yeah, it controls a headless browser. It takes screenshots, analyzes the pixels to find the buttons and forms, and clicks them just like a human would.
That distinction is so crucial for you listening. Google is reading the data. OpenAI is reading the screen.
Exactly. It makes OpenAI the superior choice for wild tasks. If you need to do competitive research across 10 different public websites or navigate some awful legacy government portal that hasn't been updated since 2010 and definitely doesn't have an API.
The kind of website where you have to click next 6 times and just pray it doesn't crash.
Precisely. The ChatGPT agent can handle that because it navigates visually. Now, the report gives it a 58.1% success rate on complex web interaction tasks.
See, 58%, that sounds low. I mean, if my employee only did the job right 58% of the time, we'd have a serious stock.
For a human, sure.
Yeah.
But you really have to understand the complexity here. For software navigating the messy, unpredictable, totally unstructured internet pop-ups, dynamic ads, weird formatting that is astronomically high.
Okay, fair enough.
It's a massive engineering achievement, but as you probably noticed in the report, it comes with a pretty steep price tag.
Yeah, the pro tier, $200 a month. That is a serious subscription.
It is. You get 400 agent tasks for that. But look at the math. If that agent saves you 10 hours of highly skilled work, $200 is an absolute steal.
That's true.
The bigger issue isn't really the price, it's the geography. If you're listening to this in Europe or Switzerland, you're out of luck.
Because of the screen recording.
Privacy and training data, yeah. The model learns by observing. So European regulators look at a U.S. company saying, we're going to watch and record your screen interactions to train our model, and they essentially say, absolutely not.
It's a totally valid concern. Watching your screen is a very aggressive posture for a piece of software. It feels very Big Brother.
It does. Which brings us to the third titan, the safe option, Microsoft Copilot.
The report calls this one the corporate standard.
Because it's the default.
Yeah.
It's used by 60% of the Fortune 500 now. Microsoft isn't trying to blouse the open web like OpenAI, and they aren't just stuck in docs like Google. They are trying to own the workflow between apps.
The sales development agent example was really interesting here. It connects Dynamics 365, their CRM, directly to Outlook.
Right, and think about the real-world pain point there. Salespeople hate CRM software. They hate logging calls. They hate updating leads. It's the part of the job everyone completely avoids.
Yeah.
Copilot just sits in the middle. It monitors the email in Outlook, identifies a lead, and autonomously updates the CRM entry in Dynamics. No tab switching, no data entry.
It's the automation of pure drudgery.
That's the whole trend. IDC predicts 1.3 billion of these agents will be in use by 2028. But while the generalists are fighting for the office worker, the specialists are doing something arguably much more impressive. They are coming for the technical jobs.
This was the part of the report that blew my mind. We've always assumed that creative work or basic admin was the first to go. But now we're looking at Devin by cognition. They call it the engineer.
Devin is fascinating because it completely rejects the jack-of-all-trades approach. It doesn't want to write poems. It doesn't want to plan your vacation. It strictly wants to write code.
But I could already ask ChatGPT to write Python code back in 2024. How is Devin actually different?
Context and environment. When you ask a standard chatbot for code, it gives you text. You have to copy it, run it, see the error, paste the error back to the AI.
You are the runtime environment.
Exactly. Devin actually has its own environment. It has a browser, a command line shell, and a code editor built in.
So it can run its own code.
It runs it, sees the error, debugs it, fixes it, and redeploys it. It manages the full development cycle. It just loops until the code actually works.
The report mentions a benchmark here, solving 14% of real-world coding problems without any human help. Again, 14% sounds low until you compare it to the standard models.
Standard models sit at around 2%, so Devin represents a 7-fold improvement in autonomy. In software engineering, that difference is the gap between a tool that helps you write a function and a tool that can build an entire feature.
And they've slashed the price recently. It used to be $500 a month.
Now, starting at $20, they are aggressively moving for market share. They want every single developer to have a Devin instance running right alongside them.
But while Devin is targeting the professional engineer, there's another player targeting
Well,
everyone else, Replit.
Yes, the democratizer. Replit agent isn't for the senior dev at Netflix. It's for the person with an idea who literally cannot code. It runs entirely in the browser.
Right.
You type in plain English, I want a website that tracks my crypto portfolio and alerts me when Bitcoin hits 100K. Replit builds it, hosts it, and deploys it.
It feels like we're seeing a real split in the road here. Devin is for the pros who want to be 10 times faster. Replit is for the students and entrepreneurs who want to skip the learning curve entirely.
Precisely. They've hit 5 million users. It's opening up software creation to people who have never written a line of syntax in their entire lives.
And then, quietly humming in the background of all this, is Amazon. Amazon Q.
The connector. Amazon Q is strictly for the AWS ecosystem, but you have to think about how massive that ecosystem is. It connects to over 40 business tools natively: Salesforce, Slack, Google Drive.
There was a staggering stat from a cybersecurity company called Proofpoint. They used Q for their administrative work.
They saved 18,000 hours annually.
I tried to do the math on that before we recorded. If a full-time employee works about 2,000 hours a year,
It's 9 full-time employees just wiped off the ledger. Or, more optimistically, 9 employees freed up to do something other than clicking buttons.
that is the optimistic view, definitely. We'll get to the pessimistic one in just a minute. But we have to touch on the final sector the report covers before we move on. Social commerce. This is Meta's playground.
Meta is playing a completely different game. They don't care about your spreadsheets or your Python scripts. They care about transactions.
The business AI for Instagram and WhatsApp.
Right. There are 600 million conversations happening daily between people and businesses on Meta platforms alone. Meta's AI is designed to automate that entire funnel.
Wow.
Someone clicks an ad for a t-shirt on Instagram. They ask, do you have this in blue? The AI checks the inventory, says yes, processes the payment, and sends the confirmation.
All without a human ever seeing the message.
And it integrates with Shopify for free. If you're a small business owner, you suddenly have a 24/7 sales rep who never sleeps and never gets rude with customers.
Okay, so we have the generalist running the office, the specialist writing the code, and Meta handling the sales. It sounds like a utopia of efficiency.
It does.
But the report dedicates a significant section to the risks. And not just the, Terminator-style sci-fi risks, but the boring operational risks that could actually bankrupt a company.
The loop, that's the real nightmare scenario right now.
Explain the loop for us.
Because these agents are autonomous, because they are deciding what to do next, they can get stuck in a logic loop based on bad data. Imagine a financial agent tasked with optimizing a portfolio. It misinterprets a news signal as a market crash.
Oh boy.
It starts selling, the market reacts to the selling, it sells more.
A flash crash triggered by a helpful digital assistant.
Exactly. Or a legal agent. You tell it to draft a contract based on standard precedents. It hallucinates a precedent, which large language models definitely still do occasionally, and drafts a binding contract that gives away your intellectual property.
Yikes.
If you are in set and forget mode, you might sign that contract without reading the fine print because you trust the agent so much.
This is the black box issue. When a human makes a mistake, you can ask them, hey, why did you do that?
Yeah.
When an agent makes a mistake, sometimes the answer is just buried in millions of parameters.
Transparency is a massive problem. If an agent denies a loan application or flags a medical record as high risk, can you explain to the customer exactly why? Often, the answer is just no.
And then there's the internal security risk, the helpful idiot problem.
This is the one that absolutely keeps CIOs up at night. You give an agent broad permissions to organize files. It finds a spreadsheet titled Executive Salaries. It notices that the team is working on a budget proposal, so it helpfully moves the salary sheet into the shared project folder so everyone has the data they need.
Oh, wow. It's not malicious at all. It's just trying to be super efficient.
Helpful and wrong is a very dangerous combination. That's why the report emphasizes that the human in the loop is not optional. We are moving from being creators to being supervisors, but you cannot abdicate the supervision part.
That transition from creator to supervisor brings me to the thought, I really just can't shake from reading all this. We talked about Proofpoint saving 18,000 hours. We talked about Devin writing code.
The efficiency gains are undeniable.
They really are. But think about what is actually being automated here for a second. Researching, scheduling, writing basic functions, summarizing meetings. Those aren't just chores.
Those are the learning grounds.
Exactly. That's how I learned to understand business. By sitting in the meeting and taking the notes. That's how a junior dev learns the code base, by fixing the small, annoying bugs that Devin now fixes in seconds.
You're talking about the apprenticeship gap.
Yes. If the AI does all the junior work, how do we create seniors?
It's the billion-dollar question for 2026. We are essentially pulling up the ladder behind us. The traditional entry-level job is disappearing.
So if you're a listener sitting in a management role right now, you have a totally new responsibility. You aren't just managing new software. You have to figure out how to train humans in a world where the training wheels tasks are just gone.
We might need to reinvent mentorship entirely, because if we don't, we're going to have incredibly efficient software and a generation of humans who literally don't know how any of it works.
A sobering thought to end on, for sure. 2026 is the year of the digital worker. The tools are here. Gemini, Copilot, ChatGPT, Devin. They are powerful, they are autonomous, and they are ready to work. The question is, are we ready to manage them?
That is the challenge.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you on the next one.
Bye-bye.